Quando sei qui con me, questa stanza non ha più pareti, ma alberi, alberi infiniti. Quando tu sei vicino a me, questo soffitto viola non esiste più. Io vedo il cielo sopra noi, che restiamo qui, abbandonati come se.
This is Beretta ADX Cheetah, 2,000 rounds later.
Più niente al mondo suona un'armonica.
We are out here at the beautiful Banner shooting range here today. We're going to get some footage for our 1,000 round review of the Beretta ADX Cheetah. This is a compact double stack magazine fed pistol chambered in .380 ACP. I would say it's in a duty firearm configuration where it has a decocker safety. It's not one or the other, it's both. When you have the firearm safe in safety mode, which is with the safety fully up where you can't push it any farther, it will decock the firearm and also disengage your trigger so it doesn't do anything. Let's load our firearm here today. We'll do our first shot double action, the next 10 of this magazine, 9 of this magazine. We'll do single action. We'll start at a left-hand target. Here we go. We have a group a little low of the target. That's probably just me aiming a little low, but all of our shots in the 9 ring or better. Pretty decent. Let's do one more magazine here. This is Blazer 95 grain aluminum case ammunition. It's good, just, range and target practice ammo. There you go. That's a pretty solid group out there for us. Not the world's greatest group, but certainly far from the world's worst group, that's for sure. For our newer viewers, and those who haven't seen one of our previous videos on this firearm, we're going to briefly take a break from the range now and go over the details on the Beretta ADX Cheetah. The ADX Cheetah is a straight blowback external hammer-fired pistol chambered in .380 ACP. It is 6.8 inches long, 4.9 inches high, 1.4 inches wide, and weighs in at 25 ounces unloaded. This firearm has a 3.9-inch alloy steel barrel, has a thumb safety decocker. The trigger is double action to single action, and in a non-restricted state, the stock magazines will give you a capacity of 13 plus 1. The firearm is optics ready, though you do need a mounting plate if you do want to mount an optic. The stock sights on the firearm are a 3 white dot sight system that you would use a combat hold sight picture upon. The front sight is drift adjustable, though the rear sight is fixed and attached to the cover plate for the optics ready slide. Some additional notes on the Cheetah are, this firearm has a steel slide and barrel. It has an aluminum frame. The slide has Beretta's new Aquatech Shield finish, though the barrel is a blued finish while the frame is a black anodized finish. The only polymer parts of this firearm are the grip panels and the magazine follower. This firearm is optics ready, though again you do need a plate. One nice advantage of the firearm compared to some earlier versions is it has Beretta's newer Extreme S trigger, which is adjustable for both over travel and the reset distance. It comes with Beretta's Vertec grip. Some updates that the ADX Cheetah has over previous versions are it has a redesigned magazine, which has new springs, followers, tube, and lips. It's pretty much new all the way around. While it can use older mags, Beretta does not recommend doing so. This firearm comes with two 13-round magazines in a free state. If there's one downside, it's that while the firearm says to read the manual before using on the side, that manual is not included in the box. Cleaning and maintenance of the ADX Cheetah is very easy. It has what some would call a 92 style field stripping. With an empty and unloaded firearm, unlock and push down the slide release. You can then push the slide off the frame, allowing you to remove the barrel and the recoil spring and proceed with your cleaning and maintenance of your firearm. The Beretta ADX Cheetah, it's very accurate, reliable. It's an external hammer-fired pistol with a safety decocker that some are fans of. While this firearm is optics ready, again, you do need that plate that's not included, and it does have an attachment rail for lasers, lights, etc. Though, on the downside, besides not coming with that mounting plate, the rear sight is not adjustable and is attached to that plate cover, and again, there's no manual in the box. If you're carrying this ADX Cheetah, one thing you're doing is you're carrying it. You might not have the safety on, but you're certainly carrying it decocked where your first shot is that longer double action trigger pull. Let's practice here for a magazine where I'm going to do my first shot double action, my second shot single action to work on that double action to single action transition, and we will then decock the firearm and repeat until our magazine is empty. I have 12 in this magazine. Here we go. Ideally, both our double action and single action shots will be in the bullseye. Though odds of that happening for all 12 shots are pretty slim here today. Here we go. Okay, that was a terrible example, but at least I guess they're on the paper. Here we go. That's a little better. Probably our best one yet. Well, it looks like all but 2 of our shots are in the 9 ring. We put a handful of shots in the bullseye. Not too spectacular, but certainly not terrible as far as that double action to single action trigger goes. One advantage this ADX Cheetah has over many what we'll call duty style firearms is that double action trigger is extremely smooth, much smoother than the majority of other duty style pistols that we at least shoot on this channel. Let's take another break from the range to start diving into our famous ranking map, where we dive into the features and qualities of a firearm and try to give them our own little ranking. Starting with accuracy. Now, you probably saw, if you watched our intro, that this is one of the few firearms that I can consistently do that 100-yard gong shot with. And in general, for at least me anyway, I find the ADX Cheetah to be extremely accurate. While I would probably prefer night sights or a fiber optic front sight, the 3 white dot sights that come on this firearm are very accurate, at least for me, nonetheless. This is a firearm where I can make shots that with many other 380s I just can't make. For example, consistently hitting that 100-yard gong. Besides a good set of sights that help make that happen, The smooth double action trigger, as well as a very good single action trigger, help make that possible. And of course, a firearm that you can get a secure hold of, maintain control of under recoil, get back onto target. All these things help make the Beretta 80X Cheetah extremely accurate, at least in my book. And as a result, I've given it 5 strips of bacon. Now moving on to our reliability square. This is one where, while we have had 100% reliability from this firearm, I would say it's one of the few 380s in our collection where I feel like it needs to be cleaned a little more often than the rest of the bunch. 500, 750 rounds, somewhere in that neighborhood. If I don't clean it, I can kind of feel that the trigger is getting, well, not any less smooth. You can certainly hear it in our videos that that trigger bar starts to sound like it's got some grit behind it and is maybe slowing down, which could lead to a dead trigger condition, which, speaking of which, some early models of this 80X Cheetah do have an out-of-spec trigger bar that Beretta will fix for you. That out-of-spec trigger bar does contribute to that dead trigger condition. Though when properly cleaned and maintained, at least mine has been 100% reliable. However, because it needs that sort of babying, shall we say, I've dropped that score down to only 4 strips of bacon. For recoil, this is another one where, while it's a larger firearm than many of our other 380s, being in the compact class, quite a bit bigger than the pocketable 380s, as well as a 380 that you're going to see it go against for a brief portion of today's video, it's not full size. Being straight blowback, it does have a little more recoil than some people would expect. And while I think that recoil is mild and very easy to control, there are certainly plenty of people out there who think the 80X is more snappy than it should be. And as a result, I've given it only 4 strips of bacon in the recoil score. Let's take our first break from the ranking map, head back to the range, and see a little more of this 80X Cheetah in action. We've seen how Blazer functions out of this 80X Cheetah. Let's do another common range target practice ammo, in this case Winchester White Box, which is a 95 grain full metal jacket projectile, which has sort of that flat nose on it that some people claim gives feeding problems. Let's see how our 80X Cheetah likes this ammo. Spoiler alert, if you've seen our previous videos on the Cheetah, you probably know how this will work out. Right hand target. Again, first shot will be double action of each magazine. Here we go. Okay, I think our double action shot was extremely high on target, which I would call a little unusual. Probably due for a flyer. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Let's see if we do better with the second magazine. Here we go. Well, our reliability was good. I would say our accuracy slightly better with the Blazer compared to the Winchester White Box. With our double action shots, I think both of those, one was very high, one was almost very high, shall we say. When it comes to concealability, how concealable the 80X Cheetah is for you, a lot of it will come down to your body style and the holster and where you're carrying said holster and firearm. For someone like me, where Swiss cake rolls prevent you from carrying many firearms in a, we'll say, appendix carry position, I'm sort of left with either outside waistband or, we'll say, small of the backish kidney carry position inside waistband, or of course the shoulder holster, if you can find one, which is one of the downsides of this ADX Cheetah is, for as nice as the firearm is, it can be challenging to find a quality holster, especially in stores where if you're someone like me where you want to hold that holster, try it on, see how it fits your body style. I've yet to find a holster specifically for the ADX Cheetah in stores that I can try out. In store, I'm basically left with one size fits some holsters, and many of those I'm not a fan of. When it comes to concealability in general, though, if you're someone that can't appendix carry the ADX Cheetah, you'll find it very concealable. And if you're someone that's going to wear it, say small of the back, kidney carry position, whatever you call it, or outside waistband, it's going to be less concealable. And because it's nowhere near as concealable as something like a pocketable 380 in today's video, I've dropped that concealability score at 3 strips of bacon. When it comes to the grip on the ADX Cheetah, well, I find the grip to be a very comfortable, easy to hold grip. Grip is one of those areas where it's kind of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. For some people, it's going to be in their sweet spot. For other people, a little small, and still others, a little on the large size. A lot of that comes down to the size of your hand and the grip you need to use to find that straight trigger pull with your firearm. Because this one, again, comes down to body style, size, etc., and the variability of humans, I have given this one 4 strips of bacon. I like the grip. I think it could be slightly better, but it's certainly not bad. As far as the sights go on the ADX Cheetah, as I hinted at the accuracy portion of the breakdown, I would prefer slightly different sights on this firearm, especially as a carry firearm. I would have liked to have seen something like a tritium night sight instead of the plain Jane 3 white dot sights that it has. However, because those sights I find to be so accurate and precise, it's hard for me to really knock it too much because it doesn't have my favorite sights on it. One area that sort of bumps up but then down the score on the sights as well is, while the slide is optics ready from Beretta, you need a plate to mount that optic, and they don't give you that plate for free, meaning you gotta find that plate and spend extra money on it. So while it had the potential to bump up the score, it probably bumped it down a notch. So overall, I've given the sight ranking on the ADX Cheetah at 4 strips of bacon. Let's head back to that range one more time and see that ADX in action yet again. In many of our videos where we shoot these firearms, we shoot at 6-inch, 8-inch, or even 1.5-inch targets. With many people who purchase these firearms, purchasing them for self-defense, home defense, concealed carry purposes, let's now shoot at a silhouette target just to put the holes in paper on a more context of, we'll say, the worst case scenario intended use case. What I will do is I will do one 10-round magazine at the center mass of our silhouette target with the ADX Cheetah, with the first shot being double action. And for comparison's sake, I brought along what is probably the most popular 380 in 2025, the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0, and I will fire a 10-round magazine at that same center mass of the target, and we'll see if we can tell a difference in terms of the holes on paper of our worst-case scenario target. Let's start with the Bodyguard 2.0. How about we start with that since we shot the ADX so far a couple times today. This is a striker-fired, we'll say pocketable micro-compact pistol, so all 10 shots will have that same consistent striker-fired trigger pull. Here we go. Okay, all 10 of our hits, 9 of the 10 are either in the X-ring or touching it. That 10th one, it's probably squarely in the 9 ring, but from here it looks like it's touching the border of the X-ring. Let's see how the 80X Cheetah compares now. First shot, double action. At least from here, I can't tell a difference between the groups. It all looks to be in the same area. Might be a similar pattern where 9 of 10 are touching the F1 with one outside the 10 ring and the 9 ring. Or maybe that's the 9.5 ring. But either way, we see both firearms 24 mil against our silhouette target. From a distance, the group shot by these two firearms looked fairly similar, though upon closer examination, we can see that the group shot by the 80X Cheetah, as expected, was more precise than the group from our Bodyguard 2.0. The trigger is one where, again, I kind of hinted at where it would land in the accuracy portion of today's video. The double action and single action trigger on the 80X Cheetah I find to both be in the very good, we'll say approaching custom shop class level of trigger. The double action trigger is especially good for a factory trigger. It's probably, of all the double action triggers we shoot on the channel, probably the smoothest, easiest to use double action trigger, which goes a long way to helping you be accurate as the shooter. Because that double action and single action trigger are both so good, even though you have to train to familiarize yourself for the transition from double action to single action, because both are unexpectedly good out the box, it really bumps the score up on this trigger, and at least for me, I've given it 5 strips of bacon. When it comes to capacity, that's one area where I would say the 80X Cheetah leaves some users a little wanting. While 13 rounds sounds like a lot to those that live in a restricted state, to those of us that live in free states where you can find 380s that come with 15 round magazines and manufacturer magazines that push that above 20, something that only comes with 13 round magazines leaves you a little wanting. So while 13 is better than 10 and certainly better than none, it's still a ways to go to get in that 15 to 20 ballpark that some people are looking for. As a result, I've given capacity 4 strips of bacon. Cleaning is one area where it seems that some people, they love to clean their firearms, and others, well, they're never going to clean their firearms. When it comes to the 80X Cheetah, as I hinted earlier in the video, this is a firearm where I feel to keep it functioning at an optimal level, you probably need to clean it at least more than you'd like if you're someone like me, who cleans about every 1,000 to 2,000 rounds. For those people who are going to clean after every time they shoot it, which is actually what the manual recommends, it's not going to be a problem. Though for the rest of us, well, our hands are going to get even dirtier than we'd like sooner than we'd like. So because I find that the 80X needs cleaning a little more often than I'd like, I've dropped down the cleaning score to 4 strips of bacon. It's easy enough to clean, it doesn't take much work, but you have to do it probably more than at least I would like anyway. And now let's head back to that range one last time and see the 80X in action. As one last quick comparison between these two pistols, let's do 10 rounds of self-defense ammo. In this case, it would be the Hornady 90 grain FTX, kind of like a ballistics tip projectile. We have 1.5 inch targets out there over each shoulder of our silhouette target. I will do the Bodyguard 2.0, starting at that, at our left hand 1.5 inch target. Then we'll do the 80X Cheetah at the right hand target. Here we go. I think our first shot was on the target. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2. I think we have 2 on the target, another 2, maybe 4 on the business card. And it might even be 5 on the, nope, we hit 1 way low on the left shoulder of our silhouette. So we have 1, 2, 3. 3 definitely off of the business card. Now the ADX Cheetah should have the advantage here, having what are, in my opinion, better iron sights, a longer sight radius, little bigger firearm. Though we are going to do that first shot again, double action. So we'll see if we can replicate putting that first hit on the target like we did with the bodyguard. I think we did. Okay, I think we put more hits on the card. Either 4 or 5 in this card. Hard to tell from back here, with another maybe 3 on the business card, or 4 to 5 in the target zone, with another 3 on the business card. For added challenge, you might notice I have a Fred logo sticker above the target, and I think Fred safely survived today's encounter. Good times. Taking a quick look at those challenge targets, while the Bodyguard 2.0 didn't do terrible, put a couple hits on the target, a few more on the business card, for as good as that Bodyguard 2.0 has been in 2025, we can see that it's not in the same league as the ADX Cheetah, and I would say that's to be expected. Look at you, viewer. You have made it to the final portion of our ranking map breakdown. Hats off to you. Well done. We really appreciate you getting this far. When it comes to the cosmetics on the ADX Cheetah, while Beretta does offer quite a few different color options at this point, beyond just the launch edition special colors, the price on them I feel like is a big hindrance. And beyond that, with part of the qualifications for the cosmetic score being how much of a dictator do you feel like, because I can't find a factory gold or silver or nickel plated option of it, it's hard for me to rank this one much higher than 3 strips of bacon. While sure, the ADX does have a almost classic look that is appealing to some, there are others that are not fans of things like the attachment rail, the Vertec grip, the optics ready slide, that feel like it takes away from the classic look that the Cheetah originally had. So again, 3 strips of bacon, room for improvement. If Beretta ever sends me a gold-plated version, we'll get that up to 5 strips of bacon. The second to last entry on our ranking map is Easy Rack. Now, Easy Rack on our scale encompasses a few different categories of things, ranging from how easy is it to rack the slide to how easy is it to see the sights with aged cataract eyes. And as far as it goes on the ADX Cheetah, while I find it to be an easy to use firearm that's easy to control and easy to shoot, there are plenty of people out there where they're going to struggle to articulate the slide. Yes, it does have forward and rear slide serrations, but they're more subtle serrations than on some other firearms. Especially if you just cleaned your firearm, you're going to struggle to find enough grip to articulate that slide. There are some tricks you can do, like say cocking the hammer before articulating the slide to lessen the load. But even then, the ADX Cheetah, it's not in the easy rack category. And with sights that are not easily replaced, they don't have big fiber optic, they're not what I would say the most user-friendly to your aged shooter out there. So as a result, there's a long way to go for the ADX. It could be easier to rack. It could have easier to see sights. So it's only getting 3 strips of bacon in our easy rack category. The final square in today's video is that value square, the one that's going to be most important to at least some of our viewers out there. When it comes to the value on the ADX Cheetah, with Beretta dropping the price, 6-8 months ago, to where it's now in that $600 ballpark, it's easier on the wallet than it used to be, though it's still on the more expensive side of most 380s that we feature on the channel here. Now, as far as that value goes for $600, you do get a all-metal firearm with good sights, a very good trigger. It's optics ready, though you need a plate. It's easy to shoot, easy to carry. For some people, it catches their eye. All in all, while it could be a little more of value, it's certainly not a bad value. And as a result, I've given it 4 strips of bacon in the rankings today. Well, that's how we've categorized this ADX Cheetah. How do you have it ranked across our 12 categories? And is there any other categories that you would like to see ranked in the future? Let us know in the comments. Fred and I really appreciate you getting this far. If you enjoyed today's video, like it, share it with your friends and family, drop a comment down there. Those things are free and they really help the channel greatly. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good day. Would this be Fredericky's new favorite churrito? What you got there, Fred? What you got there? Fred, the people can't see you. You're going too crazy. Oh, get your tail going all waggity, waggity, waggity. You like those smart bones, huh, Fred? Yeah, I thought you.